Good morning. I'd like to start with what an honor and privilege it is to be here today, not only as a survivor, but as a PanCan supporter. Without the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, I may not be here talking to you today. PanCan was there for me every step of the way to answer questions, offer clarification, and assist with referrals and testing. As a survivor, I would like to stress the invaluable service this wonderful organization provides. My story is one of self-advocacy, determination, and perseverance. It really begins in the 1970s when my father, Don Lembitz, was digging his way out of the infamous blizzard of 1977, when he didn't feel so well and his back began to hurt. Long story short, it wasn't muscle fatigue or reflux. It was stage 4 pancreatic cancer. From diagnosis, he passed away just 4 months later, at the age of 42, leaving behind a young wife and 4 children. Then in 2010, we received that phone call we all dreaded. My oldest sister, Delana, had just been diagnosed with stage 4 PanCan shortly after her 46th birthday. She died 3 months after diagnosis. It was a devastating loss which set me into action. This is where the self-advocacy part of my story begins. My thoughts swirled frantically. How could this happen to 2 family members so young? I spoke to my primary care physician about some sort of test or screening to save me from what I thought would be an inevitable death sentence. "I'm sorry, there is no test for pancreatic cancer," my doctor said. Gosh, if I had $1 for every time I heard that. Determined to find something, anything, I turned to the internet for hope. It was one of those late nights engulfed in fear that I thankfully stumbled upon a clinical study out of Memorial Sloan Kettering in New York City. Upon being accepted into the study, I was finally able to find some semblance of peace, knowing I was going for yearly screenings. Unfortunately, a change in my insurance caused me to drop out of the study due to medical costs associated with testing. I was back to square one, sleepless nights filled with severe anxiety and praying my children would grow up with a mother. Truth be told, I didn't know how or why I ended up calling Roswell. After all, I didn't even have cancer. But it was worth a shot. Luckily, I was able to get an appointment with a gastroenterologist. After pouring out my heart, soul, family history, tears, and fears, he agreed to take me on as a patient. The overwhelming relief left me sobbing quietly in the examining room as I thought about what he had said during my appointment. I learned that 2 or more immediate family members with pancreatic cancer puts one in the high-risk category for developing pancreatic cancer. This is what I really feared all along. You see, hereditary pancreatic cancer is rare, comprising less than 10% of cases. I was then sent for genetic testing, which revealed 2 genes associated with pancreatic cancer. I'm happy to talk to anyone about this later if you are interested. It was about 3 years into my testing that an abnormality finally appeared. It was relatively small, so it was decided I return in 3 months to detect any further changes. Growth was detected, and I found myself in the office for a surgical consultation. The surgeon told me I needed something called a Whipple procedure. A what? After that appointment, my husband and I sat in silent disbelief at a nearby restaurant. Stunned, tears streaming down my face, I thought, how can this be? They hadn't found a tumor. This is mostly preventative surgery. The surgeon said the choice was up to me. I don't have to do this. Maybe we should just wait before we decide. It was a scary and confusing time. Well, back to late night internet surfing. This time it was all about the Whipple. Not only is it one of the longest and most complicated surgeries available, it is also risky. Fear was beginning to creep in. At the suggestion of my husband, I opted not to watch the YouTube video on the Whipple. Instead, I joined every Facebook group I could find associated with pancreatic cancer. This is where I found the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, actually. I found the Whipple Warriors, the Never Ever Give Up site, among others. It was through these wonderful supportive groups I found experienced warriors and caregivers quick to offer advice and guidance. I learned about different options, treatments, hospitals, specialists, and anything else I had questions or concerns about. I learned about a new type of surgery called a robotic laparoscopic surgery that can be used for the Whipple procedure. This was less invasive and the healing time was reduced, which naturally appealed to me. When I spoke to my surgeon at Roswell, he informed me that laparoscopic Whipples were not available there, but encouraged me to call other hospitals that do. He agreed it was an excellent option if I qualified for one. It was back to my research in my new Facebook family. Getting into a cancer center for a consultation is not easy without a cancer diagnosis. Once again, I ran into repeated roadblocks because there wasn't a tumor detected. After all, remember, I only had a dilated pancreatic duct. As my doctor in New York City told me, something's cooking, you need to get that taken care of as soon as possible. Jeez. Call it divine guidance, my guardian angels, my father and sister, no doubt, or just plain old good luck, but I ended up at Johns Hopkins for a surgical consult for laparoscopic surgery. I will be forever grateful to the people who helped me get me there. After a thorough and informative consultation and examination, the surgeon at Hopkins deemed I would be an excellent candidate for robotic surgery. Now, mind you, only about 30%, he made it very clear that his goal was a cure. I was sent off for a biopsy of my pancreas, which showed some abnormal findings, but no cancer and no tumor. The surgery was scheduled for August 6th. Before the surgery, I remember thinking everything was going to be fine. After all, I have a dilated pancreatic duct. They are only going to go in and remove the damaged parts and everything will be fine. Awaiting surgery at 5 a.m. can be a surreal experience. The combination of anxiety and tiredness does not make for a pleasant experience. This is where I go blank. This was all relayed to me the day following my surgery. About 5 hours into the 11-hour surgery, my surgeon came out to speak to my husband. He wanted permission to remove my pancreas. They tried and could not get clean margins. The decision was made while I lay on the operating table to remove the diseased organ. On August 6, 2018, I went in for a Whipple and ended up having my pancreas, spleen, gallbladder, duodenum, and part of my small intestines, along with 27 lymph nodes removed. I woke up a type 1 diabetic, as well as dependent on digestive enzymes for the rest of my life. After all I had been through, unbeknownst to anyone, I did have pancreatic cancer. It was staged 1A. I think it's important to relate to you that the only symptoms I had were fatigue and slight abdominal distension. I would have never known if it weren't for my doctor at Roswell. I owe him my life. After recovering from my extensive surgery, I followed up with chemotherapy at Roswell. Through biomarker testing from PanCan, a free and extremely important test to get, it's called Know Your Tumor, it was decided I would use FOLFIRINOX as my adjuvant therapy. I underwent 7 months of very aggressive chemo to ensure there were no rogue cancer cells in my body. Truth be told, I thought the chemo was worse than the surgery itself. 5FU, as it's known, is pretty rough. I had to take a leave from work and barely had enough energy to walk to my mailbox some days. How blessed I was to have so many people praying for me and helping me along the way. Sorry, I'm almost done. If there is one thing to take away from this today, it should be the importance of self-advocacy. If I did not keep pushing, even when every door closed in my face, I would not be alive today. Pancreatic cancer is a sneaky one with vague symptoms which are often dismissed as digestive issues. A few months ago, my younger sister Lori started on a gluten-free, dairy-free, and sugar-free diet. Then in early April, she began having back pain, which she believed was from the shoes she wore to work. When this pain didn't resolve, she went to see her doctor. She ended up at Roswell for a pancreatic protocol CT scan. What we found out just this past week is that my sister also has pancreatic cancer. We need a test for early detection. There is no way I was going to let the deaths of my father and sister be in vain. With that grave loss, I was also given an amazing gift. The gift of a second chance to live and watch my children grow up. The gift to wake up each morning with a grateful heart and joy in my soul. For that, I will be forever grateful. I pray someday in my lifetime, we will see a test for early detection and a cure for this horrific disease. Thank you.